Joining me now is Charles Marino. He's the former Homeland Security Department advisor and former Secret Service special agent. Charles, before we get going on the border and everything else, I want to talk to you first about this op-ed you wrote. Sure. Explain this op-ed you wrote. I want people to hear it from you. Defunding the police and coming home. What are you talking about?
Yeah, listen, the last thing that I want to do and that I think the American people should allow is all of these mayors and other politicians that came out in the beginning, jumped on the bandwagon to either dismantle or defund the police or the entirety of the defund movement, which also included restricting or limiting the operations of police around the country, which is directly, in my opinion, responsible for the surge in crime rates that we see in all of the major cities. The last thing we should allow is them to change the political narrative to the tune that they've always supported the police, that they're able to just switch their positions and say, you know, listen, we always thought that the police were required, that enforcing the law was required, when in fact, from the very beginning, the last thing they want to do is enforce the law and support their police. It's very important that Americans remember this and remember it next time they go and vote for people to run these major cities.
Charles, how did we, not all of us, I'm obviously not lumping you in with that, but How did we as a nation lose our minds for that brief period of time where that Black Lives Matter crap, that defund the police insanity really actually caught on? It became mainstream. Of course, it's insane. It's as if they've never talked to anyone in any of these cities and the bad neighborhoods in these cities. They need the police there. It's the only thing they have. And yet it became just mainstream. What? The cops are the bad guys, just a bunch of racists out there hunting down black men for sport. It caught on. Charles, that was mainstream.
No, you're right. It was mainstream. And it was a period where people did, in fact, lose their minds. And the sad thing is, Jesse, that these politicians and the people that voted for them who supported the defunding movement early on, the funny thing is they all thought they were going to be on the right side of this, which is very concerning. I mean, obviously they're not. Anybody in their right mind would know that defunding law enforcement and not enforcing the law is no way to operate a civilized society for the long term. I mean, we could go back centuries. Every single society has had to have law and order in order for society to succeed and go on. You and I go into a store and we pay for services. Why? Because we believe that if we don't, there's going to be a consequence via law enforcement if we walk out of that store with an item. So basically what's happened here is, this is a no-hold-barred op-ed, as you can tell, Jesse. I name them: Antifa, Black Lives Matter. These were the groups that wanted to do away with law enforcement initially in places like Portland, Seattle, and Minneapolis, where not only did they want to defund the police, they actually wanted to do away with the police department in its entirety. Remember Mayor de Blasio with the civilian security patrol that he unveiled in Brooklyn, where he didn't allow the police to go in, but wanted citizens to just walk around and serve as a deterrent, putting everyday New Yorkers' lives in jeopardy? I mean, this is what we were dealing with.
Charles, here's what I'm worried about. We have the top 5 states where people are fleeing. Of course, it's New Jersey, Illinois, New York, Connecticut, California. Okay, that's where people are leaving. Here's what I'm concerned about. They're changing their rhetoric now. I was never for defunding the police, but the people who are fleeing those states, they're going to red areas and they're leaving those states even bluer than they were before. I could easily see these states continuing down the defund the police road because half the sane people packed it up and got a U-Haul and left for Florida.
You're exactly right. And you want to know what I think one of the biggest case studies is going to be for this? Austin, Texas, where you have the majority of residents in the Bay Area in California relocating corporations and their residency to Austin, and you're already seeing it. You're starting to see it. You're starting to see things like the Austin Police Department put in requests for additional manpower to address the surge in population and being denied. You're starting to see things in terms of how their policing strategies are being controlled by the politicians there that are going to kowtow to these, businesses that are used to San Francisco policies of do as you will, do as you want. And we're going to see Austin as a case study slowly turn into San Francisco. And that's going to be a problem for the people of Austin.
Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me.